Greetings students and welcome back to Black Belt Arcade. Now before we get into this next video, I just want to say thank you guys so much for helping us hit 100 subscribers. That is an awesome milestone and I'm so grateful. You guys know what that means. It means the next goal, 500 subs. It's going to be a tough one, but you know what? With enough hard work and dedication, I believe we can get it. And without further ado, let's get into another Elden Ring build video, shall we? So this is a build that I like to call the Wind Waker's Wrath. Now this one I tried to do something a little bit different from the previous build. This one is basically going to be, we're going to be buffing the Stormblade Ash of War on any weapon of your choosing, but preferably the lightest weapon, and I'll explain why in a moment. And we're basically just going to be using this Ash of War constantly to give us good damage at range. So a little bit more of a safer playstyle. So let's go ahead and get into the equipment. So the equipment for this setup is going to be, I use the Cane Sword because it's the lightest straight sword that I found that you can put Stormblade on. Make sure you have the Erdtree seal or any sacred seal, preferably one that does not weigh anything. For talismans, we have the Shard of Alexander, the Blue Dancer Charm. As you can see, this is why we're going for a super light equipment setup. The Ritual Sword Talisman and the Ritual Shield Talisman. So the gameplay loop for this setup would basically be to use Flame Grant Me Strength for the damage buff, use Golden Vow for the damage buff, and then finally, you just constantly use Stormblade from range and try to keep your distance as much as possible. Now, I was actually a big dummy with my Flash of Wonders Physic, and I actually had the wrong Physic tiers in it. So let's get into the weaknesses of the setup. So the weaknesses of the setup that I found, one of them was definitely the tracking on the Stormblade projectile. Sometimes, actually a lot of times, it just wouldn't track very well. So you kind of need to be strategic about when you actually cast it. Because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just hold down left trigger and it will not hit my enemy a lot of times so they're moving around too much. It really just depends on the enemy I guess you're fighting. As you can see in this part when I'm fighting the dragon, when I aim for his head, because his head is moving around a lot, I don't really hit it much, or I only hit it once or twice. But then when I start aiming for his body, I hit it a lot because it's a bigger target and then the body doesn't move around as much. So I guess it's just a matter too of figuring out what's the best area to target on a boss or a certain enemy, etc. You know. And weakness number 2, it is obviously very swishy. Your guy is not going to have a lot of defense here. However, that is why we're rocking the Ritual Shield Talisman, because that's going to give us the 50% damage reduction for the first hit as long as you're at full health. So that'll really help you with your defense. And you're playing a much more passive setup anyway, and Golden Vow will also help with defense. Now let's get into the strengths I found with this setup though. The strengths I found with this setup was 100% the ease of use and the damage from range. This is probably one of the highest damage range Ash of Wars that I've tried, and I feel like it's also pretty underused. I just think it's really cool to do something more unique, you know. But with all the buffs going and this talisman setup and everything, you're going to be hitting for most of the time 1,000 or higher per hit from really good range. So it's a very good safe playstyle that's a lot easier to understand and use. Unlike my previous setup that I did last time, that involved basically trading hits with your enemy constantly using the Lion Slash of War. And yes, the area that I found this build to shine the most was definitely against bigger targets that, they can move around, but as long as they don't move around too much, or as long as they just have a bigger hitbox, that is when this sword really shines with Stormblade. So, give it a whirl, Wind, and let me know what you guys think. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys coming by and checking it out. And please make sure you guys comment down below and let me know ideas to maybe make this better if there's anything I missed. I'm definitely open to the critiques. And until next time, guys, peace out and stay safe.